The 1920s roared. Jazz spilled into the streets, cars became symbols of freedom, and the stock market wasn't just for the rich. It was the American dream, sold on credit. Everyone believed the party would never end. But on a dark October day in 1929, the music stopped. Black Tuesday. In a single day, fortunes built over a decade vanished into thin air. $14 billion. Gone. It wasn't just a number on a ticker tape, it was a sound. The sound of a nation's heart stopping. In 1 week, the richest nation on earth became a nation of fear. Banks locked their doors, factories fell silent, and families, once secure, found themselves on the streets. They didn't know it yet, but this wasn't just an economic crash, it was a crash of faith. What happens when the very idea of money dies? When cash lost its power, survival became an art form. The dollar was a ghost, so community became the new currency. City sidewalks, once paved with opportunity, now hosted desperate negotiations. A haircut for a loaf of bread. A repaired engine for a bag of potatoes. Labor for a roof over your head. Trust in banks evaporated overnight, replaced by trust in your neighbor. Across the country, shantytowns sprung up, grimly named Hoovervilles, in a sarcastic nod to the president. These were cities built from scrap wood, tin, and discarded hope. Families huddled together, burning their own furniture to fight the biting cold. A new philosophy was born, whispered in every household. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. In this broken economy, human connection was the only thing with any real value left. The taste of poverty was bitter. Hunger became a constant, unwelcome guest in millions of homes. In soup kitchens run by charities, the meal of the day was often Hoover stew, a thin, watery mix of macaroni, canned tomatoes, and maybe a few slices of hot dog. Creativity bloomed from desperation. Couldn't afford apples? Bakers made mock apple pie from Ritz crackers, cinnamon, and sugar, tricking the palate into tasting a memory. Dandelion salads and onion sandwiches weren't quirky novelties. They were dinner. In cities, men, women, and children stood for hours in breadlines, their faces etched with a quiet desperation. In schools, children would faint from hunger, their small bodies running on empty. And in a cruel twist of irony, farmers in the countryside were forced to burn their own crops. The price of food had fallen so low, they couldn't even afford the cost to transport it to the starving cities. When bread became a luxury and beans were a form of currency, dignity was the hardest thing to digest. But even in the deepest poverty, the human spirit refused to be extinguished. People fought to maintain their pride, and it showed in the clothes they wore. A single dress would be mended, patched, and remended until it was more thread than fabric. Flour sacks printed with brand logos were bleached and carefully sewn into dresses for little girls. It was a badge of poverty, but also a symbol of a mother's love. Cardboard became a common sole for worn-out shoes, a flimsy barrier against the cold, hard ground. Style was no longer about luxury, it was about survival, the survival of pride. The unemployed didn't just wait, they invented work. Musicians played on street corners for pennies, peddlers sold whatever they could find, and makeshift tailors kept a neighborhood's clothes from falling apart. People lost their wealth, but they never lost their will. Amid the dust and despair, lifelines emerged. The radio became the nation's hearth, and President Roosevelt's fireside chats were more than just political speeches. They were messages of hope, delivered directly into the living rooms of a frightened country. He spoke not as a politician, but as a neighbor, and his calm, steady voice helped restore a nation's morale. It was in the darkest moments that the light of community shone brightest. Neighbors who had nothing shared everything: a cup of sugar, a piece of firewood, a song to lift the spirits. Artists, photographers, and musicians didn't turn away from the pain. They captured it, creating powerful works that documented the struggle and the unbending pride of the people. This wasn't just an era of loss, it was an era of profound connection. As one person from the time recalled, "We were poor, but we didn't know it, because everyone was." The Great Depression didn't end humanity. It revealed it. The New Deal put shovels and hammers back into idle hands, rebuilding not just roads and dams, but a sense of purpose. When money lost all its meaning, humanity became the only currency that mattered. Out of hunger came humility, and out of despair, endurance. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the moments that shaped our world. We'll see you next time.